The sky over Los Angeles was unusually dark that morning, but it wasn't clouds blocking out the sunlight. It was something far bigger, far stranger. Enormous ships hovered above the city, their metallic surfaces gleaming like polished mirrors. They were shaped like jagged mountains with sharp edges and glowing blue lines running along their exteriors. These weren't just machines, they looked alive, almost predatory. People stopped in the streets, staring up at them in awe and fear. Some took pictures, others cried, and a few ran for cover, unsure of what would happen next. Daniel Carter sat on a bench near Santa Monica Pier, watching the ocean as he often did. He loved the sea. It had always been his refuge, a place where life felt simpler. As a marine biologist, he spent most of his days studying its mysteries, from tiny plankton to massive whales. But today, even the waves seemed restless, crashing harder against the shore than usual. Something about the air felt wrong, heavy, like the calm before a storm. Daniel didn't know it yet, but this was no ordinary day. Emma Lewis, his wife, called him just as the first shadow passed overhead. Her voice was tense when she spoke. "Daniel, are you seeing this?" He looked up, shielding his eyes from the glare of the sun. The alien ships loomed high above the horizon, their sheer size making everything around them feel small and insignificant. "Yeah," he replied, his tone quiet but steady. "I see it." "You need to get home," Emma said urgently. "This isn't some kind of drill. NASA's already confirming these things are real. We don't know what they want yet, but—" She trailed off, her voice shaking slightly. "Just come back safe, okay?" "I will," Daniel promised, though he wasn't sure how much truth there was in those words. Hanging up, he slipped his phone into his pocket and stood, glancing one last time at the churning water. There was something odd about the way the ocean behaved today. It wasn't just the waves, it was deeper, almost as if the sea itself was reacting to the presence of the alien fleet. Shaking his head, Daniel turned away and started walking toward his car. By the time he reached downtown LA, chaos had erupted. Traffic was gridlocked, horns blaring as panicked drivers tried to flee the city. Pedestrians filled the sidewalks, their faces pale with shock. News helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting live footage of the alien ships. Reporters shouted into microphones, their voices competing with the growing din of panic. No one knew what to do or where to go. The government hadn't issued any official statements yet, leaving people to speculate wildly. Daniel managed to find a parking spot several blocks away from his apartment and hurried on foot the rest of the way. Along the way, he saw groups of people huddled together, some praying, others arguing. A child clutched her mother's hand, tears streaming down her face. An elderly man sat alone on a park bench, staring blankly at the ground. Everyone reacted differently to fear. Daniel thought. Some ran, some froze, and some simply accepted whatever fate awaited them. When he finally arrived home, Emma was pacing the living room, her laptop open on the coffee table. She glanced up as he walked in, relief washing over her face. "Thank God you're okay," she said, rushing over to hug him tightly. Daniel held her close, feeling the warmth of her body against his. For a moment, the world outside seemed distant, less threatening. But then reality came crashing back. "What's happening?" Daniel asked, pulling away slightly to look at her. Emma gestured toward the screen. "They've been broadcasting a message. I've been trying to decode it, but it's complicated. It's not like anything we've ever seen before." She paused, biting her lip nervously. "From what I can tell so far, they're demanding surrender. They say resistance is pointless." "Surrender? To who?" Daniel frowned, sitting down beside her. "Do they think we're some kind of threat? I don't know," Emma admitted. "But it doesn't sound like they're here to negotiate. Their tone, it's aggressive, almost mocking, like they don't even consider us worthy opponents." Daniel leaned back, rubbing his temples. His mind raced with questions. Who were these beings? Where had they come from? And why now, after billions of years of human evolution, had they chosen to appear? Most importantly, what did they want with Earth? He glanced at Emma, who was typing furiously on her keyboard, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was brilliant, fearless in the face of uncertainty. If anyone could crack the aliens' code, it was her. As night fell, the situation grew worse. The alien ships began moving, splitting off into smaller formations and spreading across the globe. Cities everywhere reported sightings, each description more terrifying than the last. Power grids flickered, satellites went dark, and communication networks faltered under the strain. It was as if the invaders were testing humanity's defenses, probing for weaknesses. In the middle of all this, Daniel couldn't shake the image of the restless ocean. He kept thinking about the strange patterns he'd noticed in recent weeks: unusual currents, unexplained temperature shifts, and bizarre readings from underwater sensors. At first, he'd dismissed them as anomalies, glitches in the equipment. Now he wondered if they were connected to the arrival of the aliens. Could the ocean somehow sense their presence? Was it reacting to them in ways humans couldn't fully understand? Unable to sit still, Daniel grabbed his coat and headed back outside. The streets were quieter now, the initial panic giving way to an eerie stillness. Most people had retreated indoors, locking themselves away in hopes of safety. Daniel walked, aimlessly, his thoughts swirling like the tide. Eventually, he found himself at the edge of the pier again, staring out at the black expanse of water stretching endlessly before him. The moon hung low in the sky, casting silvery light onto the waves. For a while, Daniel just stood there listening to the rhythm of the surf. Then suddenly he noticed something, a faint glow beneath the surface pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Squinting, he leaned closer, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. It wasn't bioluminescence, it was too deliberate, too rhythmic. Whatever it was, it seemed almost alive. A chill ran down Daniel's spine. He pulled out his phone and snapped a few photos, though he doubted they would capture the full effect. Tomorrow, he decided he would bring his equipment down here and investigate further. Maybe it was nothing. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the key to understanding what was really going on. As he turned to leave, a loud boom echoed through the air, shaking the ground beneath his feet. Daniel spun around, heart pounding, and looked up. One of the alien ships had descended lower, hovering directly above the pier. Its underside shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting long shadows across the wooden planks. For a moment, Daniel froze, caught between terror and curiosity. Then, slowly, the ship moved on, disappearing into the distance. Breathing heavily, Daniel forced himself to walk back home. Whatever the aliens wanted, whatever secrets the ocean might hold, one thing was certain: humanity was standing on the brink of something unimaginable. And Daniel knew, deep down, that the answers lay, hidden beneath the waves. End document. The next morning, Daniel woke up to the sound of Emma pacing in the living room. She hadn't slept much, her mind consumed by the alien message she'd been trying to decode. Her laptop was still open on the coffee table, surrounded by scattered notes and empty coffee cups. Daniel watched her for a moment, admiring her determination but feeling a pang of worry. She looked exhausted, her hair tied back in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. "Did you figure anything out?" he asked, sitting up and stretching. Emma stopped pacing and shook her head. "Bits and pieces, but nothing clear yet. Their language, it's not like anything we've encountered before. It's mathematical, almost musical, but there are gaps I can't fill. Every time I think I'm close, something changes." She sighed, frustration evident in her voice. "I just wish they'd give us more time." Daniel nodded, understanding the pressure she was under. "Maybe they don't plan to," he said quietly. "Whatever they want, it's not going to wait." Before Emma could respond, their phones buzzed simultaneously. It was an emergency alert from the government, calling all scientists and experts to a secure military base near San Diego. Both Daniel and Emma exchanged glances. This was it, the moment they'd been dreading but knew was inevitable. They were being summoned to help humanity face its greatest challenge. After a quick breakfast, they packed their essentials and headed south. The drive was tense, the roads eerily empty except for military vehicles speeding past them. News reports played on the car radio, updating listeners on the latest developments. The Harrow, as the aliens had come to be called, had established a presence over every major continent. Communication attempts had failed and skirmishes had already broken out in several regions. Humanity was on edge, bracing for what might come next. When they arrived at the base, they were greeted by General Laura Hayes, a stern woman in her late 40s with sharp features and an authoritative demeanor. She wasted no time getting down to business. "We need answers," she said bluntly, addressing the group of assembled experts. "These beings have given us an ultimatum: surrender or face annihilation. We're not ready to roll over just yet, but we need to understand them if we're going to fight back." Emma raised her hand hesitantly. "General, may I speak? I've been analyzing their transmissions, and while I haven't fully decoded their language, I believe they're not just here to conquer. They seem afraid of something. There's a pattern in their signals that suggests urgency, maybe even desperation." The room fell silent as everyone turned to look at her. General Hayes frowned, considering this new information. "Afraid of what?" she asked finally. "That's what we need to find out," Emma replied. "But I think it's tied to Earth itself. Something about our planet makes them uneasy." Daniel stepped forward then, clearing his throat. "There's something else you should know," he began, explaining his observations from the previous night. The strange glow beneath the ocean, the unusual behavior of the waves. He described how the sea seemed almost alive, reacting to the presence of the Harrow in ways he couldn't explain. "I think the ocean might hold some kind of clue," he concluded. "If we can figure out what's causing these anomalies, we might learn why the Harrow are so interested in us." General Hayes listened intently, her expression unreadable. Finally, she nodded. "All right," she said. "You two focus on this. We'll provide whatever resources you need, but remember, we don't have much time." Over the next few hours, Daniel and Emma worked tirelessly in a makeshift lab set up inside the base. Emma continued decoding the alien messages while Daniel analyzed data from underwater sensors. Together, they pieced together fragments of information, each discovery raising more questions than answers. The Harrow's language was unlike anything they'd ever encountered, blending complex mathematics with harmonic frequencies that resonated strangely in human ears. Meanwhile, the oceanic anomalies grew stronger, pulsing with increasing intensity. As night fell, tensions ran high across the base. Reports came in of escalating hostilities worldwide. The Harrow had begun attacking civilian areas, targeting cities near coastlines. Fires raged unchecked, and millions fled inland, desperate to escape the destruction. Despite the chaos, Daniel and Emma remained focused, determined to uncover the truth. Late into the evening, Emma made a breakthrough. "Listen to this," she said, playing a recording of one of the alien transmissions. The sound was haunting, a mix of low drones and high-pitched tones. "I isolated a repeating sequence. It translates roughly to core or heart. And then there's another word. They keep using it alongside the first. It sounds like ancient." "Ancient. Core?" Daniel repeated, frowning. "What does that mean?" "I'm not sure," Emma admitted, "but it matches what you've been seeing in the ocean. What if the Harrow aren't just here for conquest? What if they're searching for something buried deep within Earth?" Daniel's mind raced. If Emma was right, then the Harrow weren't merely invaders. They were scavengers, hunting for something ancient and powerful hidden beneath the planet's surface. But what could it be? And why would it frighten them so much? Before they could delve deeper into the mystery, alarms blared throughout the base. A representative from the United Nations burst into the lab, breathless and pale. "They've attacked the International Space Station," he gasped. "The crew tried to make contact peacefully, but the Harrow fired without warning. The station, it's gone." A heavy silence settled over the room. Everyone knew what this meant. The Harrow weren't interested in negotiation. They had declared war. Emma sank into a chair, overwhelmed by the weight of the news. Daniel placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. though his own heart felt heavy. Outside, the sky flickered, with streaks of light as missiles launched in retaliation. Explosions lit up the horizon, brief flashes of defiance against the looming threat. Despite the grim circumstances, Daniel found himself thinking about the ocean again. The glowing patterns, the rhythmic pulses, it all felt connected somehow. Whatever the Harrow feared, whatever they sought, the answer lay beneath the waves. He glanced at Emma, who was staring blankly at her laptop screen, lost in thought. "We'll figure this out," he said softly, more to reassure himself than her. "We have to." Emma nodded, though her expression remained troubled. "Let's hope we're not too late." As the hours ticked by, the situation worsened. Military forces struggled to mount a coordinated defense, their efforts hampered by the Harrow's superior technology. Coastal cities crumbled under relentless bombardment and panic spread like wildfire. Yet amidst the devastation, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that Earth itself was fighting back. The ocean surged violently, swallowing entire alien vessels that ventured too close to shore. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniable. By dawn, exhaustion had taken its toll. Daniel and Emma collapsed onto cots in the corner of the lab, too drained to continue. As they drifted off to sleep, Daniel dreamed of the sea, a vast, endless expanse teeming with life and secrets. In his dream, he heard a voice, soft yet commanding, speaking words he couldn't understand. He woke with a start, heart pounding. Certain of one thing, the ocean wasn't just reacting to the Harrow, it was alive and it was preparing to defend itself. When Daniel woke up, the base was buzzing with activity. Soldiers rushed past him, their boots echoing on the metal floors. Scientists huddled in small groups, talking in hushed tones as they pored over data and maps. The air smelled of sweat, coffee, and faint traces of burnt electronics. Despite the chaos, there was a sense of purpose, a shared determination to fight back against the invaders. But Daniel could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down on everyone. No one knew if humanity's efforts would be enough. Emma was already awake, sitting at her laptop with dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept much, if at all. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she worked, pausing only to sip from a steaming cup of coffee. "Morning," she said without looking up. Her voice was flat, drained of energy. "Morning," Daniel replied, rubbing his face to wake himself up. He glanced at the screen and saw rows of numbers and symbols scrolling by. Whatever Emma was working on, it looked complicated. "Any progress?" She hesitated before answering. "Maybe. I think I've found another pattern in their transmissions. It's not just about the core or the ancient thing. They keep referencing something else, something they call the void." She turned the laptop toward him so he could see. "It's like they're scared of it but also drawn to it, like it's both a threat and an opportunity." Daniel frowned, trying to make sense of what she was saying. "The void. Do you think that's what they're looking for? Something in Earth's core?" "I don't know," Emma admitted, "but it feels connected to what you've been seeing in the ocean. Maybe the sea knows something we don't." Daniel nodded slowly, his thoughts drifting back to the strange glow beneath the waves. He couldn't shake the feeling that the ocean held answers the Harrow didn't want anyone to find. "We need to investigate further," he said, firmly. "If the ocean is reacting to them, maybe it's trying to tell us something." General Hayes entered the lab just then, her expression grim. "We've got trouble," she announced without preamble. "The Harrow are targeting underwater structures, oil rigs, communication cables, anything near the coast. They're probing deeper, moving into areas we can't easily monitor. Whatever they're after, they're getting closer." Daniel and Emma exchanged a glance. This confirmed their suspicions. The Harrow weren't just attacking randomly. They were searching for something specific, and whatever it was, it lay hidden beneath the waves. "We'll need equipment," Daniel said quickly. "Submersibles, sonar arrays, anything that can help us map the deep-sea trenches. If the Harrow are heading there, we should too." Hayes nodded. "I'll arrange it. You two focus on finding out what they're after. Time isn't on our side." Within hours, Daniel and Emma were aboard a research vessel, heading out to sea. The ship rocked gently as it cut through the water, carrying them farther from land. On board were two other scientists, Alex Monroe, a geologist who specialized in oceanic formations, and Rachel Kim, a marine ecologist familiar with deep-sea life. Both had been called in to assist with the investigation. As they sailed, Alex briefed the team on the region they were approaching. "This area is known for its deep trenches," he explained, pointing to a map spread out on the table. "Some of the deepest parts of the Pacific lie here. If the Harrow are interested in Earth's core, this might be where they'd look." Rachel chimed in, her tone cautious. "But these depths are uncharted territory. We're talking about environments so extreme even the toughest machines struggle to survive down there. If the Harrow have tech advanced enough to explore it, we're dealing with something far beyond us." Daniel listened intently, his mind racing. The more he learned, the more convinced he became that the ocean wasn't just a passive player in this conflict. It was alive, aware in some way humans couldn't fully comprehend. The glowing patterns, the surging waves, it all pointed to something ancient and powerful lurking below the surface. By nightfall, they reached their destination. The water was calm, almost unnaturally still, reflecting the stars above like a giant mirror. Daniel stood at the railing, staring into the darkness. Somewhere down there, hidden in the crushing depths, secrets waited to be uncovered, secrets that could change everything. The next morning, they deployed the submersibles. Daniel and Alex climbed into one, while Emma and Rachel took the other. As they descended, the world around them transformed. Sunlight faded quickly, replaced by an endless expanse of blackness illuminated only by the submersible's lights. Strange creatures drifted past, their bodies glowing with bioluminescence. It was beautiful yet eerie, a reminder of how little humanity truly understood about the ocean. Hours passed as they dove deeper, scanning the seabed with sonar. At first, nothing seemed unusual, just rocks, sediment, and the occasional fish-like creature darting away from the light. But then, something caught Daniel's attention. A faint vibration in the water. It wasn't natural, not like the hum of distant whales or the crackle of thermal vents. This was rhythmic, deliberate, almost like a heartbeat. "There," he said, pointing to the sonar display. A cluster of signals pulsed faintly, emanating from a nearby trench. "Let's check it out." They guided the submersible closer, maneuvering carefully through jagged rock formations. As they approached the source of the signals, the vibrations grew stronger. Then, suddenly, the water around them began to shimmer. Tiny particles suspended in the current glowed softly, forming intricate patterns that shifted and danced like living constellations. "What is this?" Alex whispered, his voice filled with awe. "I don't know," Daniel replied, his heart pounding. "But it's not random. Look at the symmetry. It's too precise." Back in the other submersible, Emma and Rachel noticed the same phenomenon. Through their comm system, they shared observations, piecing together fragments of understanding. Whatever they were witnessing, it was intelligent. Not human intelligence, but something older, deeper, tied to the very fabric of the planet. As they studied the glowing patterns, Emma remembered the alien transmissions, the harmonic frequencies, the mathematical precision. It matched perfectly with what they were seeing now. "It's communicating," she realized aloud. "Whatever this is, it's responding to the Harrow." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. If the ocean was communicating, did that mean it recognized the Harrow as a threat? Or was it warning them about something greater? Before they could delve deeper into the mystery, alarms blared inside the submersibles. A shadow loomed overhead, an alien ship descending rapidly toward their location. Its underside glowed with the same blue lines as the others, casting eerie light into the depths. The Harrow had found them. "Get out of there." General Hayes's voice crackled over the radio. "We're sending backup, but you need to ascend. Now." Daniel hesitated, torn between retreating and staying to uncover more. But the decision was made for him when the water around them began to churn violently. The glowing patterns intensified, pulsing faster and brighter. The ocean itself seemed to rise in defiance, pushing back against the intruder. "Something's happening," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "The currents, they're changing. It's like the sea is fighting back." Indeed, the alien ship slowed, its movements hesitant. For a moment it hovered uncertain, uselessly, as if unsure how to proceed. Then abruptly it retreated, ascending back toward the surface. Daniel stared in stunned silence, his mind struggling to process what he'd just witnessed. The ocean wasn't just reacting to the Harrow, it was actively resisting them. Whatever lay hidden in its depths, it was powerful enough to drive the invaders away. As the submersibles began their ascent, Daniel couldn't help but wonder, what had they stumbled upon, and what role would it play in humanity's fight for survival? The research vessel rocked gently as Daniel, Emma, Alex, and Rachel climbed back aboard after their harrowing dive. Each of them carried the weight of what they had witnessed deep beneath the waves. The glowing patterns, the rhythmic pulses, the ocean's defiance against the Harrow. It was all too much to process at once. But one thing was clear. They had uncovered something extraordinary, something that could change the course of humanity's battle with the invaders. Daniel leaned against the railing, staring out at the endless expanse of water. His mind raced with questions. What exactly had they encountered down there? Was it some kind of ancient life form? Or perhaps a remnant of an advanced civilization long forgotten by time? Whatever it was, it seemed to understand the Harrow better than humans ever could. And more importantly, it wasn't afraid of them. Emma stood beside him, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. She looked pale, her eyes distant. "We can't just ignore this," she said finally, breaking the silence. "Whatever's down there, it's connected to everything, the ocean's behavior, the Harrow's fear, even their attacks on coastal areas. If we want to stop them, we need to figure out what we're dealing with." "I agree," Daniel replied, his voice steady but tinged with unease. "But how do we approach something like this? It's not like we can just knock on its door and ask for help." Alex joined them then, shaking his head in disbelief. "This goes way beyond anything I've studied," he admitted. "I've spent years exploring the ocean floor, mapping trenches and studying geological formations, but this is something else entirely. It's like the ocean has its own consciousness, its own will." Rachel nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And if that's true, then maybe it's been waiting for something or someone to wake it up. Maybe that's why it reacted so strongly when the Harrow showed up." Daniel frowned, considering this idea. "You think it's been dormant all this time, just sitting there watching?" "It's possible," Rachel said. "Think about it. Oceans cover most of the planet, yet we've barely scratched the surface of what lies beneath. There could be entire ecosystems, entire civilizations hidden from us because we don't know how to look." The conversation was interrupted by General Hayes's voice crackling over the ship's intercom. "Team, report to the command center immediately. We've got new intel you need to see." They exchanged glances before heading inside. The command center was a cramped room filled with monitors displaying live feeds from satellites, radar systems, and underwater drones. Soldiers and technicians worked feverishly, their faces tense with urgency. Hayes stood at the center of it all, her arms folded as she waited for them to arrive. "Take a look at this," she said, gesturing to one of the screens. It showed footage of the Harrow fleet retreating temporarily from certain coastal regions. Instead of attacking, they appeared to be regrouping, forming tight clusters around specific points near the ocean floor. "Our analysts believe they're focusing their efforts on these locations. They're probing deeper, using technology we can't match." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "They're trying to reach whatever's down there," he said quietly. "They must have figured out it's tied to Earth's core, or whatever they call the void." Hayes nodded grimly. "Which means we're running out of time. If they find it before we do, we might lose our only chance to turn the tide." Emma stepped forward, her voice firm despite the exhaustion etched on her face. "We need to go back down there, deeper this time. If we can locate the source of those signals and understand what it is, we might be able to use it against them. It's risky, Hayes warned. If the Harrow catch you again, they won't hesitate to destroy you and the ship. We don't have a choice, Daniel insisted. If we stay on the surface, we're sitting ducks. At least down there, we might stand a chance of finding answers. After a brief pause, Hayes relented. All right, but you'll take every precaution. I'm authorizing additional submersibles and armed escorts. If the Harrow make another move, we'll be ready. Preparations began immediately. The team worked through the night, outfitting the submersibles with reinforced hulls and experimental sonar equipment designed to penetrate even the deepest trenches. Daniel reviewed maps and data, pinpointing the exact location where the glowing patterns had been strongest. Emma continued decoding fragments of the Harrow's transmissions, searching for any clues that might give them an edge. Meanwhile, Alex and Rachel double-checked the submersible systems, ensuring they were prepared for the extreme conditions they would face. By dawn, they were ready. The sky was overcast, heavy clouds casting a gray pallor over the sea. Waves crashed against the hull of the ship as the crew prepared to deploy the submersibles. Tension hung thick in the air, a mix of fear and determination gripping everyone involved. As Daniel and Emma climbed into their submersible, they shared a silent glance. Neither needed to say anything. They both knew the stakes. This mission wasn't just about science or exploration. It was about survival. Humanity's fate rested on their shoulders whether they liked it or not. Once submerged, the descent felt slower this time, the crushing pressure of the depths pressing in on all sides. The world outside the windows grew darker, colder, more alien with each passing moment. Strange creatures drifted past, their glowing bodies casting eerie shadows on the rocky seabed. Despite the beauty of the scene, no one spoke. Everyone was focused, alert, bracing for what lay ahead. When they reached the trench, the glowing patterns reappeared, brighter and more intense than before. The water shimmered with energy, pulsing in sync with the rhythmic vibrations they'd detected earlier. It was mesmerizing, almost hypnotic. Daniel guided the submersible closer, his hands steady on the controls. There, Emma whispered, pointing to a massive structure rising from the trench floor. It was unlike anything they'd ever seen. A towering formation made of what looked like crystalline material, its surface refracting light in dazzling colors. Streams of energy flowed through it, connecting it to smaller nodes scattered across the seabed. "What is that?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Daniel replied, his eyes wide with wonder. "But it's alive. Look at the way it moves, the way it reacts to our presence." As they studied the structure, the vibrations grew stronger, resonating through the water like a heartbeat. Then, suddenly, the entire formation began to shift. Cracks formed along its surface, releasing bursts of light that illuminated the surrounding area. From within, something stirred, a colossal shape emerging slowly from the depths. "Oh my God," Rachel breathed, her voice trembling with awe. The Leviathan rose majestically, its body shimmering like liquid silver. It was impossible to comprehend its full size. It stretched far beyond the limits of their vision, its form blending seamlessly with the ocean around it. Tentacles unfurled gracefully, each one glowing faintly with bioluminescent patterns. Its presence was overwhelming, not menacing but undeniably powerful. "This is it," Emma said softly. "This is what the Harrow are afraid of." Daniel nodded, his heart pounding. He didn't know how they would awaken it, or if they even should, but one thing was certain. Humanity's greatest hope lay hidden beneath the waves, waiting to rise. The Leviathan loomed above them, its vast form casting a shadow that stretched endlessly across the trench. Daniel and Emma stared in awe, their breaths shallow as they tried to process the enormity of what they were witnessing. The creature wasn't just massive, it radiated power, an ancient energy that seemed to pulse through the water itself. Its shimmering surface reflected the faint glow of the submersible's lights, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced around them. It was beautiful, terrifying and utterly alien. Alex broke the silence first, his voice trembling. Is this real? Or are we dreaming? Rachel shook her head slowly, her eyes wide with disbelief. It's real. Whatever it is, it's alive, and it knows we're here. Indeed, the Leviathan seemed aware of their presence. Its movements were deliberate, almost curious, as if studying the tiny intruders who dared to venture into its domain. Tentacles shifted gently, brushing against the seabed and stirring up clouds of sediment. Streams of glowing particles swirled around it, forming intricate patterns that pulsed in rhythm with the vibrations they'd detected earlier. Daniel gripped the controls of the submersible tightly, his mind racing. This must be what the Harrow fear, he said quietly. It's not just some creature, it's part of the ocean itself, maybe even part of Earth. Emma nodded, her thoughts aligning with his. If we can wake it fully, maybe it can help us fight back. But how do we communicate with something like this? We don't even know what it wants or if it sees us as a threat. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared inside the submersibles. A sudden surge of turbulence rocked the water, forcing them to stabilize their vessels. Through the windows, they saw shadows moving rapidly toward them, alien drones descending from above. The Harrow had found them again. They followed us, Alex muttered, panic creeping into his voice. We led them straight to it. No time to argue, Rachel snapped, her tone sharp but focused. We need to decide now. Do we try to awaken it, or do we retreat? Daniel hesitated, torn between caution and desperation. If they left now, they might lose their only chance to understand the Leviathan, and possibly humanity's last hope. But if they stayed and failed, the Harrow would destroy them all. We stay, Emma said firmly, her voice cutting through the tension. If this thing is truly connected to Earth, then it might already know what's happening. Maybe all it needs is a push, a signal to act. Daniel looked at her, seeing the determination in her eyes. He nodded. All right, let's do it. Working quickly, Emma accessed the experimental sonar equipment installed in their submersible. She adjusted the frequency settings, matching them to the rhythmic pulses emitted by the Leviathan. I think I can amplify its signals, she explained. If we mimic its patterns, maybe it will respond. As Emma worked, Daniel guided the submersible closer to the Leviathan, keeping a safe distance but ensuring they remained within range. The others did the same, positioning their vessels strategically to create a network of sound waves. The glowing patterns intensified as the vibrations grew stronger, resonating through the water like a symphony. Then, suddenly, the Leviathan moved. One of its massive tentacles extended outward, brushing gently against the submersible. For a moment, everyone froze, unsure whether it was a gesture of curiosity or aggression. But instead of attacking, the creature paused, its glowing surface flickering softly. It was responding. It worked, Emma whispered, her voice filled with wonder. It understands. But their victory was short-lived. Above them, the Harrow drones began firing, sending shockwaves rippling through the water. The force of the blasts shook the submersibles violently, threatening to tear them apart. Warning lights flashed inside the cabins as structural integrity warnings blared. Hold on, Daniel shouted, struggling to maintain control. We're not done yet. Through the chaos, the Leviathan reacted. Its body surged forward, releasing a burst of energy that sent the alien drones spinning backward. Tentacles lashed out, wrapping around the machines and crushing them effortlessly. The water around them churned furiously, illuminated by flashes of light as the Harrow fought back. They're targeting it directly, Alex yelled, watching as more drones descended into the trench. They're trying to kill it. No, Emma corrected him, her voice steady despite the danger. They're scared of it. They want to stop it before it wakes completely. The realization hit Daniel like a punch to the gut. The Leviathan wasn't just defending itself, it was awakening, rising to confront the Harrow. But it needed time and they were running out. We have to keep amplifying the signal, he said, his voice urgent. If we can hold them off long enough, maybe It'll finish waking. Emma nodded, her fingers flying across the controls as she fine-tuned the sonar frequencies. The others joined in, coordinating their efforts to create a continuous loop of sound waves. The Leviathan responded, its movements growing more fluid and purposeful. Glowing streams of energy flowed from its body, weaving through the water like threads of light. Above them, the Harrow launched a final assault. A massive beam of concentrated plasma shot downward, aimed directly at the Leviathan. Daniel watched in horror as the attack struck, sending a shockwave that nearly tore the submersibles apart. For a moment, everything went dark. When the water cleared, the Leviathan stood tall, unharmed. Its surface shimmered brighter than ever, pulsing with raw power. Tentacles unfurled fully, stretching toward the surface. With a deafening roar that echoed through the depths, it surged upward, leaving the trench behind. "We did it," Rachel breathed, tears streaming down her face. "It's awake." But the battle was far from over. As the Leviathan ascended, the Harrow fleet mobilized en masse, converging on its location. Explosions lit up the surface, shaking the entire ocean as humanity's forces clashed with the invaders. Fighter jets screamed overhead, firing missiles at the alien ships, while submarines launched torpedoes from below. It was chaos. But amidst the destruction, there was hope. General Hayes's voice crackled over the radio. "Team, get out of there now. We're launching Operation Tidal Fury, full-scale counterattack. You've done your part. Let the Leviathan handle the rest." Daniel didn't argue. He knew they couldn't stay any longer. The submersibles wouldn't survive another direct confrontation. Guiding the vessel carefully, he led the team back toward the surface, keeping one eye on the Leviathan as it rose higher. By the time they breached the waves, dawn was breaking over the horizon. The sky burned orange and red, reflecting the fires raging along the coastline. Alien ships filled the air, their weapons trained on the Leviathan as it emerged fully from the ocean. Its body towered miles high, shimmering like liquid silver under the rising sun. Tentacles lashed out, tearing through enemy vessels with ease. The Harrow faltered, their confidence crumbling in the face of Earth's awakened guardian. Daniel climbed onto the deck of the research vessel, his legs shaky, but his spirit unbroken. Emma joined him moments later, wrapping her arms around him tightly. Together they watched as the Leviathan unleashed its full fury, driving the Harrow back step by step. For the first time since the invasion began, Daniel allowed himself to feel a glimmer of hope. Humanity wasn't alone in this fight. Not anymore. The sea itself had risen to defend Earth, and the Harrow would soon regret ever setting foot on this planet.